got to the end of that tape, and I hope I didn't finish too abruptly, but their costumes were just exquisite. They were just all the typical Korean costumes, but they were in beautiful colors. Not only the blues and reds, but uh, pinks and turquoise colors, and you could just see that everybody enjoyed every minute of their show. And the little children were just as graceful and as cute as they could be, and it was just a joy to see. And there was a few little boys in it, young boys, and they're maybe 15 years old, who at the very end did that dance or whatever you call it with streamers, and they just whirled them around with their heads going like this, shaking their heads around. You've seen it probably, Fred and Sulja. But they really did a terrific job. And then when they finished this whole performance, the program, which I will send you, then they had for an encore, these children sang, and they sang the Korean song, the national song, and other songs in Korean, and then they sang some American songs, like what's her name? Do Re Mi Do Da Do Da 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 Dum. That one, and some other ones, and then they sang well, a few American songs, and they just the people just applauded so much and so hard, and they really were received. And this was the second night of their performance. The first night they say they were very well received, and then they put on program for two more nights and shows. And the expo is really quite interesting. To me, it was enjoyable because I was so surprised to see what they've done to Spokane. Uh, they tore down all the rickety old buildings, and the only thing that's left on that area that used to be a big railroad station, they tore down the trestles and the old railroad buildings, and all that's left is the big clock and the steeple. And they said that some woman donated a clock that chimes on the hour, and it cost $15,000 or $20,000, and it is right there in the middle of the expo, and it's tall, something like the clock at at the railroad station in Seattle. I noticed it today, and Spokane is really growing. They've built buildings, and they've got it's really a growing city. It's not like Tacoma. The people are downtown. When I left the town downtown after Expo on Friday, because Anna Lane didn't go the second day, why people jammed on the bus just like in Korea. People use the buses, and there's a lot of people downtown. It isn't like Tacoma where it's dead. And I really was thrilled to see how Spokane has grown and beautified itself downtown. Then and of course, Aunt Elaine and Uncle Is were wanted to know all about you too, and I told them all about you. And then I want to tell you that Denny had come out to see his folks and his dad, especially because his dad had been sick last spring, and he spent about a week in Spokane. He is back. He went back to New York the same day that I had come in. He didn't know I was coming in then, but he had to go back to work, and he is sort of a caretaker in a big ritzy hotel in New York, and he gets a good salary, and he has to go fix the light switches and the lamp lights, and I guess fix whatever when the drains get plugged up or whatever. This is his means for living, and he works for. It's a very ritzy place on Park Avenue or Fifth Avenue. No, Park Avenue West, I think. And his mother said that he gets terrific tips at Christmas time, and because there are a lot of celebrities and wealthy people and men who have their mistresses living there. And so he gets some great tips at that place besides a good salary. He was supposed to have a week's vacation and he had 3 weeks, but only 2 weeks he got with pay. He came out and he did stop by California, but he didn't see us and came on up to visit his folks. And they said he looks fine. And he also, I forgot to tell you, he has rented a studio apartment and he's still working at his artwork. And right now he's interested in painting, his mother said. I didn't see any of it, but that's what he's doing now. So he is trying to continue his efforts in painting and his artwork. And his means of support is this janitorial work, I guess you'd call it, at this ritzy apartment house. So he's fine. He's getting along fine. Now, B has been teaching a French class down in Oakland over the summer, and she's due up in the end of the month, near the end of the month, to visit her folks and see Expo. And they said she's getting along fine too. So that's the report on the family in Spokane. And Aunt Sarah is as well as can be expected. She's not too well, but physically she is not too well. But otherwise, we had a nice visit Saturday afternoon. Then I came back Sunday with Todd to Seattle, and he dropped me off at the Neredicks. So I had dinner with the Neredicks Sunday evening and stayed overnight. And I met Kit's wife, Sally, who is a beautiful, charming, intelligent young woman. She's real dark, and she's pregnant. And Kit is gallivanting around in the Orient. Was in Hong Kong, they said, and he was in the Philippines, and he's doing this work. He's hired by Boeing to do this research in transportation, I guess, is what he does. They have him gallivanting all over. I said to Auntie Blanche, when is he going to Seoul, Korea? And she says, well, so far he hasn't been told to go there. So he's very busy on his job for Boeing. So I didn't get to see Kit, but I met his wife for the first time, and she's really very attractive. Elsa and Joe had met her when she and Kit came back to Seattle after they were married. The Neredicks had an affair for a party for them, a reception for them, I guess you'd call it. And so they met them. So Elsa has seen her. She's really a darling-looking girl and very capable, Blanche says. And the Neredicks asked about you, and your brothers and your sister, everybody, and your auntie and uncle, they all asked about you and were interested in knowing what's going on with all of you. Anyway, everybody wants to know when you're coming back, and we really and truly hope that you'll be showing up next year for sure, if not before, but at least next year. And if you want to do any resting or planning a vacation, you might plan on, it might take you, like Elsa said, 2 or 3 months to get yourself settled in a place to where you're going to be, so you can vacation right here in the U.S. and show Sulja, the country over, Sulja and Angela, the country right here, because you will have been in Korea for over 7 years by that time. So you don't have to vacation over there. Of course, I know it will take you time to get yourself packed up to come over here. But I think as far as vacationing, you might have to loaf till you get yourself settled in a job here and where you decide you're going to live too, because there's all sorts of nice places here on the West Coast. Now, as to the rest of my visit up here, I'm going to stay here to the end of the week. Then I'm going up to Tacoma. a little bit sooner than I planned because Sandy and Alan and their 4 kids have decided to take a trip up to Vancouver and Victoria for about 3 days or so. And Alan didn't want to go over Labor Day, first because the stores are closed, and second, there would be so many Americans up there that there wouldn't be any room. So they decided it would be better to go ahead of the big crowds. And also, he says he has statements to take care of at the end of the month. So um, I said I thought it would be. I sort of hinted that I'd like to go because it's been about 35 years since I've been to Vancouver and Victoria. In fact, the last time I was in Vancouver was when the Leslie Sussmans got married. So that's a long time ago. So I'm going to go back to Tacoma next Sunday and be there and go up with them to Vancouver and Victoria. And then I think I'll come back, I think back to Portland for a few days, I don't know. And then I'll be in Tacoma for the big bar mitzvah that's going to be on Friday evening, September the 13th. Not that it's going to be that big, it's no lavish thing. It's going to be as all the other Warnick bar mitzvahs have been. Uh, Lily and Jack say that Craig has worked diligently uh, on his bar mitzvah. They say that he practically knows it backwards and forward. I think he's going to surpass all the little Warnicks on his performance because they said he's just very conscientious about it, and he's working hard at it. I didn't hear him practice when I was there because I was over there one night, but I guess the rest of the family wasn't anxious to hear him repeat it again. So I'll have to wait a while for it. But all the family in Tacoma are fine. The children are fine. Greg now is going on 4 years old, and he isn't quite the devil that he was last year, but he's still a devilish little fellow. He's very cute, but he's been a little bit spoilt by all the older ones, like you know who might have been. Go ahead. Uh, Now for the Cantor uh, divorce proceedings. Remember the last time I told you that uh, they'd gone back together. When I was here in April, in Tacoma in April, I was told that the Cantors had gone back together again and were not being divorced. So when I asked what the cause of the trouble was, nobody seemed to know. Nobody would tell me, so I still don't know the story behind it all. So they did get together, uh, I guess last March or April before I got there, and I was told that they even took a trip to Europe, and they got back together in their home and lived there for a while. But now I get up there and I understand the divorce is definitely on. They're going to be divorced. They just couldn't seem to make a go of it. So that is the latest on the Hartley Cantor story. And I've heard pros and cons. Now I hear that Hartley's success has gone to his head, and I'd heard other things, but I don't know how true any of them are. But he has been very successful. He's got a few stores, few jewelry stores now, um, in the different malls. I don't know exactly. I'll have to find out when I've been in Tacoma longer, because I've only was there for a few days, so I don't know all the dope. Um, I saw Sylvia, but I didn't see the young Seinfelds. Uh, Karen was accepted. I think I may have written you to study law at the UPS night school law course. So she's going to be taking up law. She decided she'd like to try. So as Elsa said, it'll be Seinfeld, Seinfeld, and Seinfeld if she ever gets through. I didn't see Lawrence and Susan. I didn't even talk to them. I saw Evelyn and Saul Herman, when I stopped in before I went to Spokane, and they're feeling quite well, and they asked about you too. And everybody I've talked to all are interested in knowing how you all are, and uh, are all looking forward to when you're coming back. Now, I really have had just a wonderful time all this time as everybody looks wonderful in the family. Elsa and Joe look marvelous, and Matt is just the most adorable little baby you can imagine. He's so cute, and he crawls like lightning all around. He stands up and pulls himself up all the time, but he still hasn't quite got the confidence to walk all alone. He is a darling baby, and I just can't seem to get enough of him. Although I just came back this afternoon on the train from being in Seattle. I stayed overnight in Seattle on my return from Spokane. So I really have had a real busy time. Your family here is growing up on you. You won't know them or recognize some of the kids. Um, Neil has gotten pretty well healed from the broken leg that he got this spring. He got around quite well, even without his crutch, but he uses a crutch. The doctor said it's better for him to have that little bit of a support because his leg gets tired. Otherwise, he's fine. His leg healed very easily and nicely, and he'll be ready for school. He won't be able to play soccer this fall, but otherwise, he's fine. Love and goodbye from Mom.
It's all over. Gone. So long from Matt and Joe and me, too.